Good evening, staff, commissioners, and the general public present. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chairperson Morales,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Medina,
Present.
Commissioner Cuevas,
Present.
Commissioner Lomeli,
Present.
Commissioner Valdez. For the record, Commissioner Valdez is not with us tonight. And we do have a quorum, so we're able to proceed with tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on our agenda, are there any corrections to the agenda?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. There are no corrections to the agenda for tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, public comments.
At this time, I will read the public comment. So the public may address the Planning Commission on any items listed on the agenda, including non-agenda items that are within the Planning Commission's subject matter jurisdiction. State law prohibits the Planning Commission from acting or entertaining extended discussion on any topic not listed on the agenda for tonight's meeting. As a reminder, please show courtesy to others while providing public comments and direct all comments to the chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item, staff communications. Are there any?
There are no staff communications. And just to confirm, did we receive any public comment cards? No? Okay, no. And no, I think if I may, I would just like to highlight, we were invited to present at Cal Poly Pomona. We were selected because the professor kind of took a liking to what was going on in the city of Montebello. So I took our assistant planners who are alumni from Cal Poly, and we presented on the general plan, the bike master plan, as well as the downtown specific plan. And we had a lot of great questions. It was a very interactive presentation, and it was well received. So we were honored to do that, and I think the professor would like us to come back at some point. So just wanted to give a quick update. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Good job.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
You inspired a whole new
Generation.
generation of planners.
Yes.
Honestly, Commissioner, we did. We got an interest for an internship from one of the students, so we were really happy about that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Next item on our agenda, minutes. Can we get an approval of the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting held on October 15th, 2024?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting held on October 15th, 2024.
And can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Vice Chairperson Morales, Chairperson Morales,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Medina,
Aye.
Commissioner Cuevas,
Aye.
Commissioner Lomeli,
Aye.
and motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the item for our hearing.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I will introduce this item. It is a public hearing item. So item 2 on tonight's agenda relates to a proposed lot line adjustment for the property located at 200 and 204 North Maple Avenue. Emily Fernandez will provide a presentation on this item.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission, and the public. The project before you is for a lot line adjustment request. The applicant, Charles Chang, is requesting to adjust the shared property line between 200 and 204 North Maple. The entitlement associated with this request includes a lot line adjustment. The applicant and property owner of the two lots is seeking to adjust the existing shared property line to ensure that all buildings are located within their respective properties. The project site is comprised of 2 residential lots. Parcel 1 measures approximately 7,797 square feet and is improved with 2 separate 2-story buildings serving 6 residential units. Parcel residential buildings serving 4 attached dwelling units site is zone R3 multiple family residential. The immediate surrounding land uses north, south, east, and west of the project site are also residentially zoned properties, which are consistent with the existing land use of the project site, and no construction is being proposed with this request. The applicant seeks to relocate the existing property line shown in red 11 feet north as shown in green. Currently, a portion of the buildings on Parcel 1 are encroaching over the boundary line onto Parcel 2. The adjustment will facilitate the realignment of the shared property line for the boundaries of Parcel 1 and 2, which would enable the future sale of both parcels separately. Currently, on the west of the property, there is a common driveway used to access both properties where the new property line will be relocated. To ensure that the driveway remains accessible to both properties, the applicant will also be adding an easement over the access point shown in attachment C in yellow. The current setbacks of Parcel 1 and 2 do not meet the standard setbacks for the R3 zone. According to the Montebello Municipal Code, the site setback is 5 feet and the rear is 10 feet, making these two lots non-conforming. With the proposed lot line adjustment, the properties will remain non-conforming. However, it will correct the encroachment of a lawfully developed building. According to Chapter 17.54, non-conforming uses and structures, each non-conforming use, building, or structure may be used and maintained provided no alteration, addition, or enlargements to any such use or building are proposed. With this proposal, there are no proposed additions, alterations, or enlargements. The property owner will not be able to make any future alterations until the entire lot conforms with the Montebello Municipal Code and Building Code. And then any deviation from the building standards will be subject to a variance. The lot line application is considered a project per the California Quality Environmental Definition. The project is considered exempt pursuant to 15.315 minor land uses and subdivision 15.305 minor alterations in land use limitations. On November 7th, the public hearing notice was mailed to property owners within the 300-foot radius to the extender boundary site of the properties, and on the same day it was published in the Whittier Daily Journal. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 1224 approving the lot line adjustments, case number PC 2024-0014-LLA with conditions, and is categorically exempt pursuant to 15.315 minor land divisions and 15.305 minor alterations in land use limitations. Thank you. This concludes my presentation. I am available for questions, as is the applicant.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff and the commissioners?
I have a real quick question. I'm wondering, is the site currently used as one parcel? Is it legally one parcel?
It's legally two. Legally two parcels.
But it's used as one parcel right now?
Right now, I believe it's used as two as well.
So if I may, it's currently two separate parcels. However, we do have existing structures that exceed the boundary, so they cross over into the neighboring parcel.
Right, but conceivably it was originally developed as one parcel, but it was lot tied as one parcel.
Based on our records, there are no lot ties, so it is confusing to us how this was done. We don't know if it was done prior to regulations that exist today, but we did do a lot of research to try to find whether or not there is a lot tie covenant. I think maybe the applicant can provide some additional background, but we were unable to locate a lot tie or anything that would indicate that these lots were connected.
But both parcels are owned by the same person now?
That is correct.
Have they been historically owned by the same person?
I don't know the history of the ownership.
I believe it was just because they weren't able to be sold separately. because it was encroaching.
I
So they were always sold together
I see.
previously.
Also, I think both buildings are, they look alike. So I assume that they were designed and built by the same, folks that did
Yeah.
both buildings.
And once these parcels are separated, I'm assuming that there's already been an analysis on the density, on the floor area ratios. They're going to continue to comply, or do they not comply now? For the number of units, things of that nature.
They do not comply now, which would make it non-conforming.
I see. So what is the maximum density for the lot? How much is it over? I guess that's what I'm
So
asking.
typically, they're allowed to build one dwelling unit per 3,000 square feet in the R3 zone. So right now, the parcel 1 is 7,000 square feet. So right now, today, if they were to develop the lot, they would only be allowed to build two dwelling units on parcel 1. And then parcel 2 would be one dwelling unit.
So it's 7,000 square feet. How much is parcel 2?
Is 5,812.
Give me 1 second here. You said it was 3,000 square feet per unit?
Yes.
So there would be a maximum of 4 units here, right?
Yes, correct.
And how many units is it total?
Right now, there's 10.
10? And how many units would be left over in the smaller parcel?
It would be 4 on the smaller parcel and 1 accessory dwelling unit.
4 on the smaller parcel. And the smaller parcel ends up being 4,088. Okay. And the easement that's being created here, what are the terms of that easement? Is there some discussion in here on what?
I
Because
bel-
conceivably these two properties could be sold separately, right? So they could
Yes.
end up in separate hands.
Yes, I believe the easement is for ingress and egress.
I see.
And maybe the applicant, but is it run in perpetuity with the land? If it, for example, I think what the commissioner is asking is if the properties are sold separately, the easement remains in place.
Right. Okay. And so this is an access easement. So does that mean it remains clear?
Yes.
No fences could be built
Yes,
ever?
that's correct.
I see. And just maybe a point of clarification for myself. Why is it that we're seeing this item here? It's a lot line adjustment?
Yes, because the 2 buildings on parcel 1 are over the property line. So the property line currently goes over 2 of the buildings.
And per the Subdivision Map Act, lot line adjustment would require consideration from the Planning Commission.
But there's no other concessions here, right? He's not asking for a reduced yard. I can see that this lot is being made the smaller lot ends up being very narrow. He's not asking for a reduced lot size.
No, not at this time.
So the lot does conform to the lot area requirements.
If they wanted to do any changes to the lot, then it would have to conform to the standards today.
What is the standard for?
That would be the 3,000 square feet per unit.
But the minimum lot area, what's the minimum lot area?
We don't have a minimum, I don't believe, or I believe it's, for the R3, it's 10,000 square feet.
10,000 square feet. So any new subdivision would have to have a minimum, any lot in a new subdivision would have to have a minimum of 10,000 square feet.
Yes.
Is there a minimum for the frontage requirements?
The 20-foot setback in the front.
As far as like how wide, what's the minimum width of a lot?
I don't believe we have length and width. I think it's just the lot size.
Okay.
It's just the 10,000.
I think the state map act does have requirements, right? Isn't it 50?
I want to say it's 50 feet. Yeah.
And so none of these conditions are concessions that we are looking at as part of this?
No, and Commissioner, Vice Chair, the non-conforming status remains the way our code reads, and I think the city attorney will confirm that unless there's a change in use, you would lose your, or there's development that occurs, you lose your non-conforming status. So therefore, there is no proposed demolition, development. This merely is a realignment, if you will, to really correct, I think, an oversight, if you want my honest opinion, and to sort of clean the title, if you will, for these parcels. That's the purpose of the lot line adjustment. I haven't heard any discussion regarding any development associated with the property. It's merely just to correct the lot lines and provide access through the easement, which is one of the things that staff was keen on working with the applicant and making sure that we secured, and it was reviewed by the city attorney's office. So.
Gotcha. I guess my concern is more towards the future, right? Because if we are creating a lot that is substandard, right? Whoever potentially owns this lot in the future will have to deal with this substandard condition, rendering the use of that building less than its neighboring building.
Yeah.
So in consideration, that's what I'm taking into consideration, the fact that this is going to be sold separately, or maybe sold separately, right? And we're, I don't know, transferring an issue to some other person, other owner.
And I think with regard to the standards, they would merely need, they would be required to comply with our current regulations, right? Like anyone else would. So the property exists today the way that we see it. It's just really realigning the parcels to clean up this issue. So therefore, nothing would change, and if something does change, that would come back to planning for further review, and they would need to obviously meet the current standard.
I guess just one more question. If there was a substandard lot that didn't have the minimum lot area and that had a 32 or 48-foot frontage, would there be any special conditions in developing that lot?
There would be constraints, obviously, so they would not be developing. Like, it depends what they were looking to achieve. If they were looking to demolish and rebuild, there would be challenges there for sure. They would have to apply for a variance to, front yard or the width of the frontage of the property. There would have to be a variance consideration associated with that, which would be a discretionary action, obviously.
Okay.
So for all intended purposes, everything's going to basically look the same as it is now?
Yes, there, and I mean, maybe we could hear from the applicant, but there is no plans that we are aware of to change any structure, any material, composition of the property.
And the driveway will be maintained because that's the whole purpose is to protect that access.
Yes, so, and that's a great point. Before we issue what's called a certificate of compliance, we will require that the applicant record this easement and provide us with a conform copy to basically prove it'll go into our records to show that it was recorded with the LA County Clerk's Office. Therefore, it is known to the world that this easement exists, and it again runs in perpetuity.
And that's one of the conditions that's here stated.
Correct.
Correct, on the agenda. Okay. Right. Are there any other questions or comments for staff or for the applicant? Should we invite the applicant forward or?
Do you want to open the public hearing?
Yes, let's open the public hearing. And I would like to invite the applicant forward if we have any questions or for,
Good evening.
good evening. Are there any questions for the applicant in regards to this project?
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Sir, do you intend to sell these lots separately?
No, we don't have any intent to sell them. We just want to, like, they were saying that we just want to clean up the property lines, the boundary lines, because when we first acquired 200 North Maple, we didn't know there was an issue with the lot line, but the owners came to us and said, hey, we're also going to sell 204. So we ended up saying, okay, we'll go ahead and purchase that one as well, because we were doing some 1031 exchanges. And then when we found out, we couldn't get two individual loans. We had to get one loan, even though they're separate entities, right? Even though I'm involved with both. So we had to like encumber the entire property with one loan. So what we'd like to do is refinance next year sometime and separate them out so that one entity has their own loan, and then myself will have a separate loan on the 204 Maple.
Mr. Chang, I have a quick question. There was a 300 radius letter that was sent to the neighbors around. Have there been any issues or comments or, that you have probably heard from your surrounding?
No, everyone's real happy because we really, put a lot of money into both buildings to make them look really, really nice and attractive. I don't know if you guys have driven by, but new fresh paint, new roofs, just really new landscaping, just really made it nice and attracactive.
Okay.
It does look nice.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, are there any additional, yes.
Are there any comments from the public?
Are there any comments from the public?
Staff has not received any.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back to staff for any final comments. No questions. All right. Can we get motion to approve the item and under the conditions that are written here on the item, please?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve case number PC 2024-0014-LLA with recommendations 1 and 2.
Can we get a second?
I'll second that.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Chairperson Morales,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Medina,
Aye.
Commissioner Cuevas,
Aye.
Commissioner Lomali,
Aye.
and motion passes.
Motion. All right. Next item on our agenda, are there any Planning Commission orals? No? All right, perfect. And then I would like to call this meeting adjourned.